So welcome, Nathanial. It's great to have you on the interview.
What a privilege to be here, thank you.
Tell us a couple of key points in your journey that got you into LinkedIn and to specialising in that space.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. When I started my business, I started from a place of desperation. I was in debt and didn't have any money, and I decided to help a business coach out who was running an event, and I'd invite everybody in my network, and at the end he would thank his sponsors. And I said, today, instead of saying, I'd like to thank Nathaniel, who's an online marketer, say, I'm a LinkedIn specialist. Let's just see what the response is like. And I was swamped, like 40%, 50% of the room just came up to me and they're like, oh, how do I know who to connect with? How do I optimize my profile? How do I turn connections into dollars and all those sorts of questions? David Guest, who's a business coach who was running the event, he whispered in my ear, the market's telling you what it wants. Yeah. And that's when I decided to specialize in LinkedIn marketing exclusively, and my business just went gangbusters after that.
How long ago was that?
7 years ago.
But to me, it seems like people are still kind of coming a bit late to the party when it comes to LinkedIn.
I know. I would have thought they would caught on by now. I guess the main thing that's changed in the last 12 months, we've seen session time on LinkedIn. The amount of time people spending on the platform has tripled.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
So it's become a content marketing platform, since video got introduced, but now people are spending a lot more time on the platform. And what we found is business owners are starting to recognize that they can get more organic reach on LinkedIn than they can on any other platform.
Fantastic. One thing I like to ask, and in this case, what would be the worst piece of advice you've got, and what were the consequences of taking that advice on board?
I think that the most important thing with business and in digital marketing is you have to have the ability to adapt. So anyone that tells you it has to be done on, you need to be on this platform, even if it is LinkedIn, and so you need to be on LinkedIn, you need to do it this way, I think it's bad advice, because the key to successful digital marketing is having the agility to adapt to what the market's presenting itself. Because at the end of the day, LinkedIn may not be successful next year, in which case my business model will change entirely. I've always said if door knocking becomes more effective tomorrow, my team will be out knocking on doors. Yep. The only reason we specialize in LinkedIn is this is where we get the best results. And so I think having the ability to adapt is so important, and anyone that tells you any different doesn't know what they're talking about.
What's one book that's had a really powerful influence on your life?
I think one that's probably going to benefit a lot of the viewers is the one by Gary Vaynerchuk, Crush It. I was a bit late to the party reading that book, but it's transformed the way that I do business, and I think it transformed the lives of so many other business owners that have caught onto this whole digital marketing wave. And social media marketing is so different to what us as marketers are used to. The whole concept of adding value without expectation took me a long time to get my head around. But it's transformed the way that I do business, and I actually really love it. Like, I really enjoy the concept of being able to help people all the time without selling to them. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a really good one. I've got a huge amount of value from Anthony Robbins over the years. I remember the first time I went to a Tony Robbins event, it completely changed my life. I was broke. I had to use 2 credit cards and then change in my pocket to pay for the taxi to get there. And I didn't eat all day because I didn't have any money. Right, and I get to the end of the seminar and I had so much value that day, right? And I thought I had my hotel booked, the only way I'm going to be able to get to my hotel is I'm going to have to hop in a taxi, and then when I pay for the taxi with my credit card, I'm going to have to act surprised when the thing bounces, right? And somehow, and I still don't know today where the money came from, but the credit card worked, and I managed to check into my hotel and get room service and charge my phone and all that sort of stuff. But I got so much value out of Unleash the Power Within because I had all these limiting beliefs around money and relationships and what it meant to be successful. So even though Tony Robbins, it might not have been a book, that he completely changed my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing that I've seen is investing in us, even if it's going out on a limb. Like I was fairly similar. My first foray into investing in myself, other than buying a handful of books and only reading the first chapter, was to invest $20,000 in a program. I'd never done anything like that before. It took me about a month to decide because it was like 20 grand. Like, that's so much money. I had to put on a credit card, all that sort of stuff. And there were 12 people in that room, and to this day, from opening that network, I didn't have a network at all in that space. Mm-hmm. From that day forward, out of those 12 people, I've either done business with or am in business with 7 of those people in that room, right? Or invested in their companies now and been on advisory boards and all sort of stuff. And or you wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't have met the people I met to go through the journey I went through. Exactly. To be able to get up and speak in front of people and support people. So that decision to actually invest was such a powerful one.
That's huge.
Right, yeah.
I had the opportunity to interview a guy called Grant Cardone recently, and he said something that really rang true with me. He said, the number one reason that people don't have time and money is they don't invest time and money.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree. If you were to give one piece of advice to a business owner that is in the place that you and I have been in before, like head down, on the hamster wheel, kind of stuck, not kind of going, well, how can I make this thing a success? How can I, have that impact and turn my business into what I want it to turn into? What's one piece of advice that you've received before that has really strong impact on you that you could share?
I think that in this day and age, in order to be successful, it's all about adding value. And I think when you're in a place of scarcity, it's difficult to, because you're just thinking about where I'm going to get my next meal from, right? Yeah. But the key is, the secret to success in business is to reverse engineering what the customer wants. And being out, so if you just get out of your own head and think, it's not about me, how can I add value to the customer, and not think about where the money's coming from or what, how it's going to come back to you. Focus on adding value. You will be successful, and you'll find that the rest of the stuff just takes care of itself. Like my business is more successful now than ever, and I have very little track on where the revenue is coming from. I just very much focus on adding value, and the more value I add, the more successful the business is. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess that universal principle, they say you reap what you sow, or you get back what you put out. And if you're actually, as I say, that if you're intentionally putting it out from a place of abundance versus lack, I think you start to create abundance back. Correct. And I've seen that as well in probably the last 6-7 years of my life. Yep. Is as that shift of doing that openly and without any lack attachment attached to it. Correct. And real abundant mindset. It's made such a difference. So
that's a huge deal.
Well, thank you, Nathaniel. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks for having me.